Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get ready to hop into our next series, as it is going to be, I think, an anticipated one for a lot of people right now.
Yes. Yes. I referenced it earlier in this cast, I suppose. I mentioned some mech gods out there.
Yeah.
And yes, we have one on screen right now. Mechs every single game, every single matchup, but notably against Protoss, who he is facing, a little worse off, a little more difficult to actually execute.
Yeah. Avilo, of course, the Terran mech god, and this guy, NethuNe from 1F Pro, is going to be facing off. And you mentioned that, Avilo has been facing a few difficulties against Protoss, and NethuNe actually did play versus Avilo already. This is the decider match for the group, and NethuNe actually took the 2-0 versus Avilo earlier on today.
Yes. So, yeah, all very important things. Decider of the group, whoever loses is out. And then already being a rematch, there is something you've said about the group curse, but I really feel strongly that the way that Avilo plays, it's so much more difficult to do against a Protoss player that if you're at theoretically even skill, he just actually doesn't have as much of a chance.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit tough, but we'll hop into the games and see how exactly they were going before, I guess, and how they're going to go now as we spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner of Neon Violet Square. It is the blue Protoss player from 1F Pro. Give it up for NethuNe.
In the top left, as the red Terran, give it up for Avilo.
I mean, this god has some worshippers, Zombie Grub.
Yeah, they sound an awful lot like the 1F Pro worshippers, though. It's really weird.
They just want a good series, Zombie Grub. Why can't we just hope for good, close StarCraft games?
Because we want to win?
That's...
I mean, we can't.
Yeah.
We can hope, but I mean, everyone out there is probably just like, I hope this is the easiest game in the world. I hope we get like 8 probe kills in the very beginning.
All right. But you were talking a little bit about some of the difficulties that like mech players can face, and I know you actually play a lot of mech yourself. So what are some of the kind of things that happen
Don't
with
put it that way. No. I've had to. You don't understand.
You had to.
I have. I was trying out with mech versus Protoss as soon as 4.0 hit because it looked more fun than just dying and being like, you know, being tempted to complain
because you
about
wanted to be
balance.
a mech princess?
God, no. No, but there's no getting around that there's been a lot of talk about this matchup specifically, and while it definitely was noteworthy for right after 4.0, the most recent patch did kind of help things, not well enough, I suppose. The winners are still a little imbalanced, but regardless, there were some people who were really trying to do the thing, like don't complain, try and fix it, and there were people trying to fix it. You had Gumiho trying to do mech, you had T-Watch trying to do mech, and it would work, and then Protosses were like, oh, we should probably figure out how to do against this, like, and then they did, and then now it doesn't work as much. so I don't do it at all anymore. But apparently, because NethuNe has already won 2-0, I would say that he also has already figured it out. Now, Neon Violet Square is a pretty good map to start things off for someone who is going to play mech or just turtle in general, with that back base having full gas geysers but not as many minerals.
Yeah, man, look at that hand positioning for Avilo. It's one thing that you actually notice if you're watching him play. He has his mouse almost kind of below his keyboard. Really, really interesting kind of positioning for that.
Yeah, well, what's more interesting, that or Chef with it on the key in his lap?
I think Chef is pretty hard to outdo, where he's just like, I don't need a table.
Someone has their keyboard like 90, up, standing up.
I mean, at least Chef had his mouse onto the table, but if you ever have someone that puts even their mouse on their lap, that would be pretty interesting.
You can only go up and down, not really side to side.
Oh, man, Reaper trying to knock some of those probes away. Not quite getting too much done over there. Ends up losing the SCV at the same time. I think he was hoping to get the Reaper into the main base, maybe by moving in with the SCV, so Sark kind of has to pick and choose who'd guarantee the scout out, but kind of unfortunately he doesn't really get too much scouting information and doesn't see the Twilight Council.
Okay, well, this is something that, Protoss players are doing. They're going to get Twilight Council or Robo with both being even chance and a lot of chance.
Makes his way back in. He actually sneaks in right when the Stalkers are moving out, so he will now get the scout, but you were saying, like, this is, he tries to deny it with the probes, but nice sneaking away from Avilo.
Yeah. I was going to end with there's a high chance they're also chrono boosting Uplink. Yeah. They're going to be aggressive, or at the very least just take control over the map and not let you do very much until you have... Well, usually stim, but, in some other cases, some different things definitely occur. Widowmines will try and get some sneaky stalker kills, because who makes Widowmines and then just only places them at the front of their base?
Yeah, it is definitely a bit of an odd one. We sometimes do see also Protoss players going for that Warp Prism so they can get the faster Warp Ins and everything, and just drop off maybe even in the main base. And obviously, it's also nice to have like an additional like a way that you can actually blink your Stalkers, quote unquote, with the Warp Prism. So he may end up actually even avoiding those Widow Mines depending on where he decides to push in from. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, he doesn't seem too eager to push in. He hasn't gotten much scouting, but they did play before, and Avilo does stream a lot. NethuNe just might know exactly how he plays. His Observer, even though it was Robo's second, is still going to be pretty perfectly timed for the Banshee. And the only thing that'd be better if it was shield batteries literally in the mineral lines, and then the Banshee would get like 0 kills.
Well, still going to be able to find a couple of kills over here, finding 1, 2, find actually 4 or 5 if he's really on point. So the Observer is there.
I don't know what NethuNe's facial features meant. I don't know if you caught that, but he kind of just like shook his head and smiled. He either meant that I wasn't expecting Banshees, but he has a good build against it, or he's like, I can't believe you're doing it again. I'm not sure which one.
That's a very good point. That sometimes is one of the. I mean, whatever. It's like such a weird thing to see Banshees in PvT.
It is, but they are sometimes very useful. At the very least, they push you back to a defender point. Like you're not the one being attacked. They have to worry about being backstabbed with a Banshees, so you can maybe like expand a little bit easier. But yeah, other than that, they usually just get picked off. Robo and Twilight Council, there's no reason to really go for Stargate openers anymore versus Terran. Like, really no reason. There was no reason before they nerfed the Oracle because Stalkers have become so good.
All right, well, Banshee going to try and make its way back over to the natural expansion, and there aren't actually too many defenses over here either. 2 Banshees can one-shot these workers. Oh, man, Avilo really getting some good damage done now.
Well, that is a bit of a surprise. Again, a shield battery could have worked wonders, but if 2 Banshees hit at the same time, not so much.
Yeah, man, 9 more workers end up falling and pulling NethuNe back, who was starting to move out. This is going to be really, really annoying. And again, for Avilo, this is really important because he's buying himself time. He might end up losing these Banshees. In fact, he should end up losing those Banshees to the Blink Stalkers. But, doesn't have the Observer, so that second Banshee going to be able to stay alive a little bit longer.
Probably hoping that the cloak would have run out.
Yeah.
And it is dangerously close, but... now, Avilo is getting a 3rd CC faster than NethuNe's getting his Nexus, but not by very much. It is going down a location in the back. Again, that's a very safe location, but it has less minerals, same amount of gas, which is fine for a mech player up until a point. He's really starting to get into the Eternal mode as well, building missile turrets already. I mean, he knows there's a Robo. Guarantees going to be a Robo. How quickly they make a Warp Prism is up to the build, up to the style. They're not going to be really that useful, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Very on point with that Blink Micro. Sets off one of the Widow Mines. Oh, finds the Banshee with the Observer as well. And it's trying to find an opportunity to kill it off. Get some more damage done on it, but it is going to escape out of there and could go back over to that main base. I don't know if there are actually any additional defenses. Yeah, he never ended up building that shield battery in the main or the natural expansion mineral lines.
I mean, if you don't think you have to, then don't.
Yeah.
200 extra minerals can mess up your build, but I would say that the safety is worth it. But oh well. 2 Banshees go into the main base again, and we'll find quite a few probes. Charge starting to get researched in Chronode as well, and NethuNe is going to look to stop Avilo from ever getting a 4th. 3rd is a given on this map, and maybe even other maps, but a 4th, that's what you're really looking to stop for them to effectively turtle.
Oh boy, this is going to get some good damage done. And the Templar Archives warps in so he can start feedbacking these Banshees later on, but he doesn't even have detection for the second Banshee at home. The Stalkers trying to take out these Banshees. One of them goes down, the other one going to be able to survive until finally another Observer pops out.
And this is some awesome damage. There's really not getting around it. The Banshees have absolutely been worth. Even with the first one killing 9 was already pretty good, but now 28 total is amazing. But the pace of PvT is still something that you have to fight against so much that even after killing 28 probes, you know Avilo's not going to be pushing into you, so your Chrono Boost could theoretically go into nothing but probe reproduction. You could be expanding a lot faster as well while containing him on 3 bases. So that, I look at that and I'm like, well, that's great, that really is, but is it enough?
I think that's actually a really good point, because if you look, even after all the workers were killed off, and even before Chronoboost was able to reproduce some of those workers, NethuNe was actually just up quite a few workers. So now he's sitting at a relatively even count. He is also getting up that big Tex, and Avilo's not really looking to push out anytime soon. So
yeah,
besides those Banshees, like, he's not really going to be able to put on any kind of other pressure. So NethuNe is going to be able to get up all the tech he wants as well.
you can kind of depend on mech players not pushing until maybe 150, but more likely max. And then you can definitely expect Avilo not to push until that. But I'm sure he has some other builds in mind. Like, you don't want to label him entirely just like a super turtle guy. In fact, I really like seeing that he is experimenting with the ghost tech when you play mech.
Yeah.
Eventually, the Protoss has everything. They have Storms, Charge Lots, Immortals, and Archons, and Ghosts do effective against most, if not technically all of that. Shipping Ray Shield is always good.
Yeah, you'll also notice that I think the question of when Avilo and NethuNe both opt to take 4th bases is going to be really important to pay attention to. Hellion run by over here. Oh man, this is going to get a ton more damage done.
That's not a good idea. Pulling into the Hellions, unless you can get a perfect surround. So unfortunately losing even more probes, and I mean, if he does lose this game, he has to look back on it. It's absolutely going to be just not taking the extra precaution. The extra 100 minerals of a shield battery would have stopped the initial Banshees, and then an extra 150 for a couple of cannons would absolutely stop the Hellions, along with some SimCity, I suppose.
Okay, well, the upgrade's finally starting to come out over here for NethuNe, who is only just about halfway finished up with the armor upgrade and is getting up the 2nd forge now. But wow, that is in fact a nuclear missile.
Yes, it's going to be multiple nuclear missiles. Yes. Now, I was looking at this and I was wondering if Avilo did push and was able to actually cross the map, if he had a decent shot, but he is just continuing to turtle. Now, the 4th base is really going to start becoming like a question. Like, can he actually play a longer game without a 4th base past 11, 12, 13 minutes whenever he plans on taking it?
Especially since he took the base that, yes, when you're going for this mech style, you really want gas more than you want minerals, but it can come into effect that he only has 4 mineral patches on that 3rd base.
Yeah, he's gonna run out of minerals, and that is the kind of the old saying, you know, mech and gas. It's really, when you look at some of the later stages of mech, they are also sometimes low on minerals. Hellion, consistent Hellion production and consistently giving them away actually is something you have to do, as well as a lot of minerals. But the harassment's kind of stopped. Hellions have stopped being produced in favor of just reactored cyclones and, well, nukes.
And there is the double Stargate coming out finally from NethuNe, looking to transition into usually the carriers. I've occasionally seen some Tempest being made against the mech compositions. I'm actually in favor of having like maybe 2-3 Tempests just to like whittle away at your opponent's army.
Sure, yeah. I think, both are decent enough. Now, that Stalker did see the ghost, but did it see the ghost? Did he actually pay attention when he was shooting? I don't know if he's expecting nukes or not, as we didn't watch the first series between these two, which I'm kind of regretting. I wish we had. Yeah,
but okay, that ghost getting into position above or close to above the mineral line. He's using up some of that cloak energy though, so he's got to be quick about this if he wants to be able to do something with that ghost sooner rather than later.
Okay, so this nuke might just get off.
Oh boy.
He's gonna have to warp in and send an observer over there.
He does notice immediately. He's going to be able to pull those probes back well in time. He's actually segmenting off a lot of his army over to the right-hand side to catch that ghost, though, because I guess he's maybe even anticipating that there might be additional nukes, and there is an additional nuke coming down.
But this is really perfect for Avilo. He's going to take this opportunity to get a 4th base when sending an observer over with a couple of stalkers are doing the same thing.
Does take care of that nuke, so, and of course that does also use up the nuclear missile, so 2 more being made. I think he had a total of what, 3 Ghost Academies? Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
So there's 3 nukes available total.
This is a fairly scary push. Avilo is maxed out with EMPs, and NethuNe just spent a lot of money trying to get the
those EMPs are so good. There's a 1 or 2 good storms still available, and more High Templars coming in from the bottom side, but he actually catches a lot of the Immortals as well, so they actually lose their heart and shield barriers, are on cooldown. There's an opportunity here to at least take a decent engagement for Avilo.
Yeah, kind of. Like, there's a lot of ghosts. There's also a lot of High Templars. This is still a matter of siege hopping for Avilo. So will he continuously get amazing EMPs, or will NethuNe start to split? And then if it does take that long, we're going to start to see Tempest. And does Avilo have a way to deal with Tempest? Not really. Cyclones do okay, but they got to get in range.
All right, the siege tanks shell away at all of those zealots, and this is not a fight that NethuNe really wants to take. He's trying to retreat back. The storms are actually covering his retreat, but oh no, the neon violet squares causing him to lose so many of those immortals in the process. He has the Tempest now out, and He can whittle away at this mech army, but he needs to do a lot of whittling away.
I guess he saw a concave, and that's why he thought it'd be a good idea, but the tanks were sieged, and Avilo was paying attention to get those EMPs, so losing a lot of that ground army, that buffer, the Tempests can be shot down with enough Cyclones. Do the Cyclones have their upgrade? Oh, they don't. Oh, never mind then. No, actually, Tempest win.
Nuclear missile, trying to zone out this army of NethuNe, even trying to keep the Tempest back as well. But, more and more of these units getting actually pretty close to that nuke.
It's a little scary. Yeah. So there finally we have the Cyclone upgrade. They're not super dependable. They will kill one unit really, really fast, and then kind of just be like, well, wait a second, I need to recharge here. So you do want to get to something else. I mean, wouldn't mind to Digging Claws or a lot of Vikings, I suppose, but then you get into the air battle, which has been notoriously difficult, because even though EMPs have been landing so far, what if they don't and the Vikings get stormed? They go down really quickly.
Oh boy, Tempest actually taking some damage, and oh no, NethuNe actually not noticing the nuclear missile over by that base. Oh boy, we're gonna see a Ghost with a lot of kills. 22 probes go down.
I don't think he heard the alert, otherwise he would have checked his bases.
Yeah.
Now he is on 5, almost 6 bases. Nexus, I suppose I should say, is that one isn't mining anymore. But
yeah.
And he's rebuilding the probes now, and on that many Nexus with Chrono Boost, it should be rather fast. And you know what, Avilo, backing off here, only managed to grab 1 extra base during all of that.
Oh,
so
man.
he's almost mined out of his main natural and third, for sure. In fact, I think he is.
Yeah, this is turning into a really weird situation. NethuNe also wasn't mining gas from that low ground expansion for a while. Ugh. So all of these gas units, these super gas-intensive units that he's been making, they're going to be hard to replenish until he actually starts getting that gas mining. He's still not mining for the second gas geyser at this base, but he's getting a lot of good pickoffs here. Oh boy, Tempest getting EMP, losing their shields. They're going to be taking hard damage right now.
There's a Cyclone lock on. A lot of upfront damage, and even more so with that upgrade. But NethuNe did the right thing. He backed off, and Avilo could only chase so far before he had to worry about his Vikings entering into Storm territory because the EMPs wouldn't be able to reach. It is a bit of a dance, but NethuNe is despite so much early game damage, despite that nuke that just happened, he is still should be winning the income war now that he's back up to 7 probes.
Okay, more EMPs going off, catching one of the Immortals, setting off that hardened shields and softening up an Archon, but they can retreat back and regenerate those shields. You can see NethuNe actually trying to open up opportunities for him to move back, and there's another nuke. Does he actually notice it?
He should just take all of his bases first and foremost, but...
He doesn't notice it. He's not pulling the probes away. He's actually even going to move a Tempest into it. It'll survive, but... Okay. Oh, well done.
I mean, you could start building cannons and shield batteries around, just to at least make the Ghost use the nukes on the cannons first.
Yeah.
But he's never been at a point where comfortably banking a lot. Only just now is he really going to start doing that. They're both maxed out, and he's on an extra couple bases.
Oh my god, the entire army is moving not only into a nuke, but also into all the siege tanks. I actually think that Avilo is going to scare him away from the nuke, so he ends up canceling it as well.
If you see which Ghost is sending the nuke off, you can push into that. You just snipe the Ghost, but I don't think he did. So.
Oh boy, taking some big siege tank shots once again. The High Templars, I mean, they have energy for storms, so they're having trouble closing the distance to get the storms off.
Yeah, it is that dance. It takes a lot of Viking shots to kill a Tempest, so the count is still growing. Upgrades are still on the way, and Avilo is still only on 1 extra base. Charge lots come in and just ruin that, so now he's on no mining once his SCVs are pulled.
Oh boy, it's going to be so hard for him to actually pull back and deal with that too. He can try and rely on some of the reinforcements coming out, but look at the production count. There's actually no more units coming out. Oh my god, those EMPs could not have been better. The only thing that I guess is kind of missing is the 2 High Templar in the back, but even those don't even have enough energy for Storm.
He knows that he messed up. He pushed into that, allowed his army to clump up like that, and then even missed-microed again.
GG.
Oh boy, Avilo fighting back from taking a 2-0 loss in their first series. Maybe that group curse is in effect.
Yeah, no kidding. And really, really interesting. We ended up seeing Avilo go for that sort of safer third base that's kind of tucked away between your main and your natural. We were getting a little bit worried about his economy. He was expanding much slower than his opponents and everything. But I mean, that is also just sort of a part of mech. And he was able to, again, just showcase some really good control in the later stages of the game. That is his money. I guess that's where his skill set is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be too harsh on our Protoss player
Yeah.
here, but he might be doing it to himself, right? Where I mentioned the first 8 minutes, like, well, okay, it's the probes that died, and while that still is true, you should have I think a better lead earlier on, but just not letting that happen. There was a lot of other things that happened in the rest of the game, you know? Like, he never did try and do a warp prism in the main. He just probably just assumed there'd be a billion missile turrets, which there's at least a few.
Yeah.
He never really got positional advantages either. The worst, like, there are many things that go bad when you go mech, and one of them is being attacked from behind, with your tanks are going to start shooting wildly.
Yeah.
That never happened. Those are two things I think it really could have helped, but then also, yeah, a couple of the literal, like, engagements went surprisingly poorly.
Yeah, I think a lot of those things, they're things that you can think in your head, like, yeah, you know, I should be getting surrounds and all this stuff. But it is a lot down to also experience.
Yeah.
And if you don't have as much experience in the hyper late game, especially versus that big mech army, that could be a difficult thing to like try and say, okay, well, how do I actually set myself up to get the wraparound against someone who is always playing against players that are trying to do those kinds of things. So there's definitely some sort of, I guess, experience that comes into effect here. And that is the big advantage that I think Avilo has in this series.
Yes, he probably has more experience doing mech TVP than NethuNe has against mech PvT. All right, but there is another thing that Avilo can do, and we're going to see it in this game. It's game number 2. Let's do the intros. In the top left, as the blue Protoss, he is NethuNe.
And in the bottom right, we have the red Terran player. Give it up for Avilo, sitting up 1-0.
So he does send out an early SCV, and for a long time, Avilo has had, like, if you were like, well, I'm facing this kind of Avilo, what do I do? People would be like, okay, here's 2 things. He turtles, and he cheeses. And you're like, okay, no in between, got it. So it's not going to be so unexpected, I think, for NethuNe when he gets a probe scout in here and be like, okay, he's proxying. But what exactly is the proxy? Is it factory cyclones? Is it cloaked banshees? Is it a 2x Reaper? Why would you ever? But sure, why not? Like, what is it?
Yeah, and seeing those gas geysers, of course, does eliminate maybe some options. Seeing the second gas geyser makes it a little bit more clear. But like you said, there are still multiple different options available. Whether or not there's going to be, like you said, the factory, or if it's just going to be more of those like barracks units or some sort of other like add-on for the barracks. Still left to be determined. What is NethuNe's response? Because I've also seen some Protoss players, a lot of Protoss players tend to just say, okay, well, I'm just going to hold off on my natural a little bit. And, oh, that's... Okay.
Not sure why you would move the barracks away.
Is he actually just gonna like fake this out and go for something else? No, he's still gonna build the factory proxy.
Maybe he was afraid it would be scouted. So
Was
he took
it
the chance
scouted
to move.
earlier? No, it wasn't
no.
scouted.
It is I don't know. I don't know if moving it like 7 grid spaces down is gonna stop it from being scouted, but.
I wonder if he thought it was in range from the high ground.
you know
So if
what?
like the
Yeah.
something moves in from the high ground to scout around where like the Reaper would
Yeah.
normally hop up, he was thinking, oh well, if he scouts for like a
And-
Reaper, then he'll scout out the barracks.
And Protosses do actually put anti-Reaper walls.
Yep.
That would scout something that close. So that's a good point. NethuNe did change his build up. He went for what looks to be like a PvP opener, the 2 gateway opener, and then he adds that extra on the front because I think the most likely thing is going to be proxy cyclones. Marauder proxies kind of died out. That was a fun little time. Ghost proxies died out. And then Cyclones still do a decent job. If he was going to proxy a starport, he might have put the barracks in the main and then the starport elsewhere instead of what he's doing here, which is proxying everything.
Yeah, how do you feel about the Stalker move out when you're up against those Cyclone builds?
I think you know that you have the time if you find it immediately, but what the problem here is that he's not finding it, and his stalkers are going to be on the wrong end of the fight when the Cyclones come to push up against a shield battery.
Yeah, they are starting to retreat back home, and the Cyclones are about to pop out, so he maybe has a little bit more time until the first Cyclone gets there. The shield battery can buy a little bit of time, but oh man, they do so much damage to Stalkers, and that Stalker's going to have to get the heck out of there. The other 2 Stalkers, catching that Cyclone, do get a couple of extra pot shots off, so it doesn't end too poorly for him.
Yeah, that second Cyclone was a little mistimed, I guess. 2 of them could have taken on all the Stalkers as weird as they were coming in like that, but one is getting a little low, and now NethuNe, his setup of the proxy is going to work out.
All right, we end up seeing NethuNe getting ready to put on his own form of aggression, but there's always that question, when do you feel safe actually warping in units on the other side of the map and doing something with them? Because if you do it too early, you can end up taking a little bit too much damage, but oh boy, Avilo, actually supply block right now. Oh my god, starting up a supply depot now. This is really, really bad.
That's a bad supply block right there. That's really bad. So he is proxying a starport, which I was afraid the Barrack was going to lead the units to it, but it doesn't. He's getting another factory, so continuing on truly with this one base. And the factor he might be going for here is if the all-in doesn't work, they want to take a second or a third one. Which might just be true, but Immortals are so good against what Avilo's doing, primarily those Cyclones, that I don't know if that actually works. And a Liberator instead of a Banshee?
Well, here's kind of the interesting thing. I think the timing of this Liberator is going to be so important because if it moves in right after Warp Gate has been used to warp in some Stalkers aggressively on the other side of the map, then Liberator can shut down 100% of the mining almost. It can shut down maybe like 95% of the mining. But if it comes in right before Warp Gate has been used, well, then the Stalker, 1 or 2 Stalkers warp in back at home and deal with the Liberator easy, and the push in across the map is going to be incredibly difficult to make work.
Well, I would say that with the Banshee, it's a similar idea, but the Banshee you can kind of micro a little bit more. But, I mean, Liberator's a little bit faster, have to wait for the Tech Lab, and not to worry about adding Cloak. But the attack at the front does occur. Supply Depot is down. I mean, that's almost like a fake invitation, but I think actually NethuNe would have won that if his shield is still up, but it did just disappear, so that's a little scary.
All right, Hellion run by into the main base right now, and the Liberator sieges up. This could really get a lot of damage on this. One Immortal that can actually buy quite a bit of time versus the Hellions, and 2 Stalkers are warped in back at home. It looks like NethuNe should be able to defend this.
That was clever. You know, the first thing you do against a Liberator is pull your probes, usually in one direction, and they line up. But maybe a little mistimed, and maybe NethuNe just had a calm head and was like, okay, don't pull, it'll be even worse. Now he's trying to break the ramp, but a tank is finally out, and he has to be really careful, especially whenever that Immortal loses its shield. As the first part of the battle, you just got to kind of give up after that.
Yeah, it's important to note again that while there is now a Nexus down over here for NethuNe, Avilo is also finishing up his own command center. So if he can make his way out of this, he still can maybe find a transition. Oh no, the siege tank is on siege right now. It's resieging up, and there is one Stalker that goes down, but a lot of SCVs having to be pulled off the line. Avilo losing out on a ton of mining time as well.
That is true, but NethuNe also lost a couple of Stalkers for Cyclone, so this game is kind of even, right? NethuNe had a late Nexus, Avilo was having a late command center, later than NethuNe's Nexus, but so both were late on this. And there's still a shot for Avilo to just calmly push out eventually, but he's got 2 production facilities that are on the wrong side of the map. Eventually they'll be found, and he'll be back down to just 1 factory mining. Producing.
It's not very often that you get to see the mech player with a factory on one side of the map and the other factory on the back at home. But, well, the factory does finally get found out. NethuNe, with that Stalker, going to be able to push back some of the Hellions and work away at that reactor, probably take that out, and might actually even be able to do some good damage to the factory if Avilo doesn't lift it off soon.
I think it'd be pretty worth killing that, like dedicating Stalkers to it. Eventually, the natural was almost a given, and he has some time before he has to worry about containing Avilo off a third. So kill the production facilities. Did he really note that the starport was proxied? I mean, his observer got into the main base and saw that there wasn't a starport, so hopefully he checks.
He didn't see the starport specifically, but yeah, like you said, he might make some assumptions just based on the fact that he got so far into the main base and didn't see anything. Second Liberator ready to move in at some point. Might try and time this up with either a move out across the map or something, but here we go. Liberator moving in.
I think he saw the starport.
Yeah, that probe did scout out that starport.
Yeah.
Liberator going to the main base.
Okay.
And should be able to get maybe 1 or 2 worker kills. 1 kill.
He unsieged. So NethuNe goes back to protecting the third base away from Avilo, I guess. Not protecting it, but scaring it, I guess. And Avilo is going to go into more starport production. Now, we saw starport production eventually in the last game, but after a lot of factory pressure.
These Stalkers. Oh, God, these siege tanks just tearing through the Stalkers over there. Blink was researched, so...
I think that was just awkward. That should have been an opportunity. The Immortals on the front lines and the Stalkers Blink on top, and I think that is just victory for NethuNe.
Yeah, good snipe off over there on that observer for Avilo.
Yeah, but only after it's all that many starports.
Yeah, that's right.
So back to the starports, right? Like he's gonna go into what? I'm actually not even sure what you go with this early on starports.
And no fusion core either. So
why would you? Okay, I was like, if it was battle cruisers, I don't think you can afford 4 at a time on what is slowly becoming 1 base again because your main's getting mined out.
Hyperflight rotors.
Okay, so recommitting to the Banshees. The Banshees did so much last game. Now maybe NethuNe in a weird sense of safety, like, oh, you open up with Liberators, even though I saw a bunch of starports, maybe you're just opening up with Ravens, because that's what you used to do, back when Ravens were good. But no, it isn't a Banshees.
There is only one observer out right now, and that robotic facility sitting pretty idle. NethuNe having taken some worker damage from the Liberator harassment, the Hellion Run by, etc., but not a ton. Still definitely has the opportunity to make more, but he, again, like when you're up against a mech player, your kind of gut feeling is, okay, let's make lots of Immortals. He lost one of his observers to the scout for those starports. If he doesn't see this coming, this could actually get really dicey.
I think hindsight's going to be 2020. If he does lose to these Banshees, he's going to be like, I saw the starports.
Yeah.
I had an option, and then I continue making ground army. But it's not that a ground army is bad. I mean, you do want some ground army, and mass blink stalkers could even be good. I think that if you see an opportunity like that again, though, you're like, well, I have enough time to get to Stargates. And my Stargates will probably beat out whatever he's building from the starports, but that's not this game. His Stargate only just started.
Man, the Banshees walking straight past that Warp Prism. Did NethuNe notice, and did Avilo notice, as both of them would really, really like to know about that harassment. Oh, I think NethuNe notices. He moves those stalkers right along the area where the Banshees were, but he actually overthinks it. Is going to end up losing out on quite a few workers while those stalkers are chasing after a barracks.
Yeah, of course, he doesn't have the forges yet, so there wouldn't be cannons here anyways. But again, no shield battery to even help try and save a couple of these probes. Instant pull, though, warps in the natural. A feedback could have gone down, but would have really been worth.
Well, the Banshees, they're going to be running out of energy regardless, but the stalkers manage to get the blink up forward. Hyperflight Rotor's so close to finishing up. That actually would have helped save them, and it just now finishes up, which is kind of unfortunate for Avilo.
And now the intent of the starports is clear. It's Banshees. 2 more starports are on the way. Does NethuNe add the cannons? A lot of cannons. Okay, he is adding cannons. Does he put more emphasis on the Stargate? No, he's going for upgrades on the ground.
Even Hyperflight Rotor Banshees, with how fast they move, Phoenixes still do keep up with them pretty well. Observer count also not going up right now. It looks like he's making more Immortals.
These cannons are in very awkward, not helpful positions.
They're going to be finishing up, and they might have some to provide some detection for behind the mineral line. Even going to actually be able to get some damage done as Avilo, focusing on the Banshee harassment in the main base, but a lot of workers going down the process. He's even going after, I think, a pylon that was powering the 2 forges. No, ends up reconsidering. And again, there's not more observers coming out. There's more Immortals coming out instead.
NethuNe is going to try and break Avilo, but Avilo wasn't greedy. He didn't go for a third. He's actually really SimCity'd up here. Supply depots, missile turrets, tanks that are maybe enough in number with the SimCity to hold on. And NethuNe might be making a huge mistake by pushing instead of taking control over his bases again. He's turning this into an all-in, and he's already down one in the series.
Oh boy, I mean, some feedbacks on these Banshees, if he does decide to move in, will be really nice since he has so many High Templar. I guess storming is going to be so difficult to be effective over here outside of maybe storming SCVs trying to repair siege tanks or something. Oh god, he's so busy right now, APM-wise, to even just try and clean up these Banshees. He doesn't even feel like he has an opportunity to move in right now. And even if he did, like you said, it's going to be really difficult to make work.
I'm really glad that he's not, though.
Yeah.
I was so afraid he was doing the whole, like, throw your hands up in the air and just hope that it works.
Do you think it's maybe just trying to deny the third? Like, that's all he wants to do with his army right now? There
might have been an idea of being like, well, you're making so many Banshees, you really have enough. And when he saw that it didn't, he wisely chose not to. And now it's about denying a third. But it is a good idea. He should be denying whatever third could possibly come out. But he's still losing probes because there's not dependable defense against the Banshees. Not when they're speedy like this.
Well, Vikings baiting out some of these stalkers at the front line, killing off 3 of them. Those are some really nice pickoffs over here for Avilo, and now he's going to start to move in. He scouts. Oh, he scans. He could actually pick off that observer with the Vikings if he's careful about this.
Just take on the army unless he gets stormed.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, why do it like that when you can do it for free damage?
Yeah, there you go. And that's exactly what he does. Now he is being chased through Storm, and Banshees, they die surprisingly quickly, so he's going to recall. All right, and Avilo did not lose Banshees for that, but they are awfully injured.
Oh, God, there's only one other observer out on the map right now. This is, God, he's making more Immortals, which I kind of understand. You saw so many siege tanks, but man, after you see that many Banshees, it's so scary. Unless you have an Oracle or something else to help detect this.
Okay, now I don't really think the upgrades were that important, although, the attack upgrade benefiting Stalkers was useful.
Yeah.
But that's going to be denied for their +2. And the army is now away, so Avilo can take the third base. Avilo's also denying 4th base here, so putting it down to even bases. A very wonky game, but one that I still give to Avilo.
Yeah, I'm really liking Avilo's position in this game. Now, especially that he's been able to establish that third. If he can take care of that gateway that's just a little bit to the left of his third once he actually scouts that out. Actually, he has seen that, so I'd love to see him take care of that so he can just deal with less counter harassment. And he actually snipes off the Warp Prism.
This could be NethuNe's time to shine. Avilo has to reposition his tanks. He has to get SimCity back up. He does still have a ton of Banshees, though, and I'm not sure NethuNe can really depend on just Stalkers, now when tanks are also firing away.
Honestly, I'm really worried about that Observer.
I don't know about this. Storm does land on the heart of the army, and again on top of the Banshees, but that's no anti-air.
Oh my god.
That's it.
That was an expensive army for NethuNe to lose, and he's going to, what, take out a missile turret, a depot or two, maybe 1 or 2 Hellions? Doesn't even get that Hellion. Ooh. And on the outside of the map, he's actually taking damage at the third from the Banshees once again.
He is not happy about this. 2-0ing Avilo earlier on in the group and only to be 0-2 when it truly mattered for the cider match. And to something, the same thing, actually.
Oh man, look at that smile on NethuNe's face. He is smiling and nodding and just shaking his head. He knows what's going on at this point. And oh god, he
yeah. Oh yeah.
Foosberries.
Let the hate flow through you.
Let the Protoss hate flow through. Yeah, I mean, Avilo has definitely showcased some pretty awesome play in this series, and I really do feel like, yeah, just identifying at the right times, like, oh, you don't have detection. You have 1 observer. Let me snipe that off and go ahead and push you back, and just finding so many opportunities with these Banshees to get the damage done.
I don't want to look.
You don't want to? I thought you were a mech player, Zombie.
Not against Protoss.
The mech princess.
This is just not the right order of things, okay? Not all is right in the world anymore. Banshees, please.
These are the final stalkers out on the map, and after these go down, I mean, what real hope is there?
GG.
Avilo, the mech god, takes the series 2-0, advances out of his group. Congratulations.
Yeah, indeed. I think that was actually a really tough up against Protoss, up against someone he just lost to early.